everybody, Rob Tavi here, sitting next to Don Akery, the new president and CEO of Waldom Electronics. How are you?
I'm good.
How's everything going?
I can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, how does it feel right now being electronic? I mean, it's 4 years. I know the industry's really changed over the last couple of years, and a lot of things happened for yourself too, the new chapter of yourself, and now leading Waldom and that side. But how does it feel being the energy in the environment right now?
Well, it's great to have everybody back together.
Correct.
I mean, being in this hall together, it's been 4 years now since we've all been at Electronica. So the energy in the meetings, the energy of just seeing old friends again, really good. For me, I've been on the road and I took this new job 7 months ago now. So this is my 4th trip to Europe, 1 trip to Asia. So I've been in other countries more than I've been home over the past 7 months.
Well, of course, I mean, it's like regrouping everything going the last couple of years. Of course, between the pandemic and everything that's happened, acceleration of the component business, the supply chain, all the stuff that's going on. Really, what on this chapter going into this year and taking this position, really, what are you, with Waldom, I mean, let's take a step back. Why don't we explain, what does Waldom do on this part of the
Great
process?
question, because Waldom is a different model.
Correct.
There's no other business out there in our industry like this model. It's part of the reason that I went from a really great job into another great job, is the unique value that this business brings to the industry. First and foremost, Waldom only sells to distributors and resellers. That's it. We do not sell to end customers. Part of it is we're a master distributor. We're here only in order to support the distribution channel, to help them sell more. And we do that in a couple of different ways. We do that by managing a lot of the returns that they have to their suppliers. We bring that back in, 100% quality inspected, only take back sellable inventory. It's not end of life, obsolete inventory, it's good sellable inventory. And we take that back and manage it for the suppliers. We then make that available to all the distributors. So what's excess for one, it's not excess for everybody. So it's actually a green solution that we've been able to bring to the market, that over time, we sell 65 to 70% of that inventory. So the suppliers don't have to tool back up, emit carbon, manufacturing the product, so we're able to make it available to all distributors. A lot of the products are long tail products that distributors don't normally stock. So that's a big value that we add. And then we're a master distributor for components with large MOQs that we buy. We put those on the shelf and then we sell them to the distributors at a lower MOQ.
Okay, so is it all categories you guys stock, or what do you guys focus on, the categories of components?
The business was started mainly in the interconnect space, and then we expanded to electromechanical, be that sensors, switches, fans. We've recently gotten in a bigger way into the passive components and a little bit into the simple semiconductor. Have no plans to go into complex semiconductors. There's, I'll say, nuances to storing that we don't want to, I'll say, go down that path. Plus, there's a lot of room for us in the technologies that we already support. Power supplies is an area that we think probably will add to it, so you'll see us make some announcements shortly.
Yeah, because I mean, in power, EV, everything, the infrastructure, power.
Absolutely.
Where do you see right now? I mean, since, again, getting the inventory coming in, looking at the point of sales, the direction of what is demanded right now in today's market, what are those type of components that you see? I mean, power supply is one. What else do you see moving forward?
Well, if you look at it, the interconnect, there's pockets of interconnect that are still, the supply chain is pretty difficult on. Think about the breadth of products that connector suppliers have. It's thousands and thousands of parts. Right now, I have 250,000 parts on the shelf with available to sell inventory. And I'm not that big of a company. I mean, I don't have that many lines on the line card. So the breadth of inventory of having some of everything in order to support the supply chain is really there in the interconnect space. Electromechanical, the same way. Passive is the other one that probably the demand's not so much there. The supply chain's pretty good there. It actually corrected in passives much quicker than it did in other parts of the business, but that day will come too. It wasn't that long ago that there were shortages in MLCC capacitors that made them very valuable.
So where does Waldom, I mean, Waldom sells globally, right? Where are the locations or sales offices? How does it operate?
Yeah, we are global. The corporate location is outside of Chicago in Rockford, Illinois. That we've been in business for 75 years. That's where it all started. In Amsterdam and the Netherlands is our European location. It's also where I've got a lot of the technical people, the data analysts, the pricing analysts. They're all located in Amsterdam. And we've got 3 offices in Asia, 2 in China, 1 in Shenzhen, 1 in Shanghai, another one in Singapore. I've got warehouses all over the world. As you can imagine, the supply chain of moving this inventory around. I've got warehouses, 2 in the Americas, 1 in the Netherlands. I've got actually 3 in Asia, and I've got 2 cross docks. I've got 1 in Korea and 1 in Japan.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I mean that goes from a logistics standpoint, so you can really globalize and serve the customer quicker to the geographical location on that point. And how does it come in? And we've talked in the past too with technology, right? The technology and the compute power of data intelligence, business intelligence, and data. So how is that working with Waldom? What are some of the initiatives you're doing for Waldom to move that forward, to be really digitally forward of the system?
Well, if you look at it, a lot of the breadth, selling this breadth of inventory to all the distributors, our inventory is available real time to every distributor. It feeds into their ERP systems. In some cases, some feed it to their websites to where it makes it available to the end customer. But think about it, if a distributor, you've got people who purchase, Waldom becomes an option. If they can't get the product, they don't have the inventory, can't get it from the supplier, then Waldom is an option like a factory, an extension of the factory. Because we're authorized for everything that we.
So you offer for some of your key customer accounts the APIs to be able to get that real-time
That's actually
inventory?
the way. That's actually the way that we connect with most of the distributors. There's still some that do business via EDI, so we're there too. But I'll say the vast majority now are APIs. So APIs in sharing our inventory, with feeding it all the way to the websites, as well as I actually will drop ship to the end customer for some of the distributors if they need me to do that, and that's all done through APIs.
Through APIs. So again, you have have you built dashboards internally, but also for your partners who are you're acquiring the inventory from them. So do you also have dashboards for them as well? I mean, how are you building the technology back and forth?
We've got dashboards both for the supplier and for the distributor. So from a supplier standpoint, with me managing the amount of inventory that I manage for them, we take that, they have real-time access to every piece of inventory we have, where it came from, the date code on every product that we've taken back, as well as anything that we sell to their authorized distributors. So it's available to them to where they can see it anytime. On a monthly basis, we publish reports, but they've got access to it in a dashboard. From the distributor side, they've got access to my inventory, obviously electronically of me feeding it, but they also have a portal that they can come into and they can look at the data anytime they want. If there's something that I don't have, they can actually inquire to see if I have any that's in process to come back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating as a manufacturer component or as a distributor giving inventory and having that real-time information. And again, today everything's real-time. It's on demand. They want that information now because you can make quicker, calculated decisions of what you're going to do.
We all want that. We're all consumers, and we brought that over into the business world.
The B2B
Whether
world.
we need it in 2 days or not, we want it in 2 days.
So one question I have, like some people say, is why is Waldom? What's the direction of the business model of just selling to distributors? Why was that set, and how has that been successful on that?
Well, think about it. Nobody's been able to set a business up like this that only sells to distributors. Typically you get to a point to where it's like the end customers. End customers call us all the time, and we say, yes, we have the inventory, but call your favorite distributor. And we'll be glad to sell them the inventory, but we can't. We're not set up. Think of it this way. We want to be a neutral party. We don't want to compete with the customers who buy from us. And those customers are our distributors. So the minute we were to sell to an end customer, then that trust level is diminished. And we don't want that to happen.
Well, that's also good because that kind of keeps that market sector. Distribution, as you know yourself, being in the market for many years, it's a huge service value for a lot of customers. And to keep that isolated, and you want to give back that to everybody, because again, this competition happens. People cross paths, things happen, and of course, the manufacturers always want to go direct somehow to get the supply because come the cost, the service, they just want it now. But of course, that distributor is also protecting distributors. Say, sorry, end customer, go back to your preferred distributor, and then we can sell that.
And you'll see more for that. We'll start marketing to the end customer, but we'll do it in conjunction with our distributor partners.
To go back in
to let the world know that, hey, look, we've got some products on the shelf that are probably value for a particular customer segment. And it's there. The distributor's not having to make the investment until after they get the end customer interested in the product.
Yeah. So now moving forward, we're in this technology revolution, the roaring 20s, I call it, what's going on with the technology, connectivity, but also comes to the talent and people come into the workforce. So what are some of the leadership traits and things that you're instilling into Waldom, coming from from what you came from the TTI and that side, coming into Waldom? What are you bringing in to really transform Waldom to be future proof for the talent, bring in the new, also the awareness of the industry, bringing all that, and what are some of the objectives you're bringing into?
Well, Waldom's got a great culture. As I said, Waldom's been around for 75 years. The company's built, the cultures in the regions are a little different, but there's some core, I'll say, characteristics that really make Waldom. There's a caring attitude. Everybody seems to care. There's a respect for each other. Communication is really good. Part of it, we do that through technology. I'm about to launch a new, I'm going to call it intranet slash our internal social media.
Correct.
A company called WorkVivo is the platform that we're going with. But the whole communication piece of it is something that I think instills a level of excitement. I mean, it's anything from what's going on to shout outs to people who have made miraculous things happen. And then the last trait that really makes up Waldom is ownership. So it is, again, it being a business privately held, that there's an ownership from every person that really, in everything they do every day. They treat it like it's their own business. They treat the customer like they want to be treated.
Correct.
You look at it, recruiting talent's hard. I mentioned earlier that a lot of my technical and data analysts are here in Europe.
Okay.
And part of it is in Amsterdam, there's actually a great pool of talent coming out of school. So we have a very robust intern program. We may bring in 20 to 30 per year. I've got some of my key leaders that started as interns, 8-10 years ago in the business here in Europe. So, we're trying to make it a fun place to work, a good place to work. We're trying to put the excitement back into it. What we do is unique. I think the environmental aspect of it seems to be appealing to some of the younger generations. And we do think we've got a place there. We do think we're helping the environment with what we do.
Yeah, I mean, the learning and growth, the culture, people and culture, these things today in today's world is big for the new talent coming into the workforce. They want to, safe, also ESG compliance. A lot of these things come into, especially in Europe. It's very green.
Europe's
here,
much further ahead.
Much further ahead than the other parts of the world. So it's really exciting, again, having a global business and leading it, seeing different regions and seeing what you can implement into other areas, and taking some from the Europe, from US, and really building that for the future. Because in our industry, I mean, as you know, sometimes selling the components or the sales side or selling, sometimes you really don't know what you're changing, what you're trying to, the awareness of what you are selling into that's changing the way we operate people's lives. It can come from science, come from aerospace, telecom, medical access. So are you guys doing more of this to understand, because you're selling to distributors, but are you working with distributors to say, okay, what are we selling into? What is it changing? What's going on that it gives the employee value? Okay, we're doing this service to change the world, to improve the world, to technology driven.
And obviously it's harder for us to tie it to the end application or whatever, but a lot of our distributor partners, they come to us and say, we need components to support a particular OEM, and so we tie it all the way back. If you look at it, tying it back to the sustainability piece of it, we've been now able to quantify. We know how many pieces, billions of pieces we've kept out of landfill. Over 17,000 tons of electronic components just in this stock recovery programs that we've put in place that have only been around for 10 years. We're seeing that accelerate. So, we're able to tie it, I'll say, at a higher level, even to what we're doing on a broader scale.
That's great. So moving forward, what's your future outlook? I would say, we've gone through a massive growth phase in the last couple of years. Going into, right now we're in a cyclical, the global recession. The news is out there, what's going on. But what do you see the next 3 to 5 years in the technology, what we're going into the marketplace?
Well, the good news is we're in an industry to where there's going to be more electronics everywhere. Think about your home. Think about what has electronics in today. Think about the things you can control from your phone.
Correct.
From anywhere in the world. I've been traveling, but I can check on my cameras back at home. I can actually check on my TV if I wanted to, and my HVAC systems, and nothing that I buy today isn't connected in some way, with anybody that's out and about. So there's going to be more electronics. Think about your automobile.
Right.
Look at the number of electronics in it today compared to what it was. So the outlook is great. You mentioned the Roaring 20s. The Roaring 20s have been a little different than we expected. I mean, COVID threw a curveball in it, so it, I'll say started off with a fizz and then all of a sudden recovered faster than any of us expected. We are seeing a little bit of a slowdown. I think we're a leading indicator since we deal with distributors, and the distributors are the ones that really have the pulse on the supply chain.
Right.
They see what's happening with their end customers. They see what's happening with, I'll say, the lead times on components, and they're seeing a change in that. So their buying habits start to change.
Okay.
So we saw bookings go a little bit negative, all right? But remember, our shipments are still very strong, so that's skewing it some. We see it slowing down fourth quarter, first quarter, probably either flattening or a little bit of recovery. Second quarter is our prediction right now. And we think Q3 and Q4 of 2023 are going to be good quarters. We think it's going to come back that fast. We see the demand out there. There's a lot of inventory there, but if you look at how much inventory and how many components it takes to manufacture a cell phone today.
Right.
I mean, the number of components that go into it today compared to 3 years ago, it's a multiple of components that are in it.
Well, of course. I mean, the complexities there. I mean, unifying them. Of course, I was at a CEO roundtable with the, with the going from Wolfspeed, Infineon, ST Micros, NXPs, and they comment the similar things you're talking about. Really, what's going on in the industry, a little bit of slowdown, but the demand, the future, there's massive demand, and to keep up with it is a problem. I mean, everybody's expanding CapEx for, building new facilities, expanding,
Absolutely.
It's globalization or deglobalization, whatever that's going on in that. But set that aside, it is fun because, as the world moves forward to technology, and especially the EV and power infrastructure is huge, and that sensing and microcontrollers, it's big. So overall, it is the future. It is bright, but it's like, how do we get there? It's not going to be all clear sunshine and butterflies.
No.
How do we work together? And that's my final question: is do you think really this industry, is, of course, I think the last couple of decades, everybody kind of separated more in the echo chambers, but I think this pandemic has kind of changed the ballgame, and technology and data being democratized has. So more people on the same level playing field. Do you think that is a good thing, that people are more democratization happening, everybody's working together? Or do you think it was better that people were working apart? How do you think that we move forward in this decade?
Well, I think you can look back at what happened to the supply chain, and you read it. Even the people who aren't in the industry and may not even be at an OEM, they know about the shortage of semiconductors in the automotive industry. It's front page news. So all of a sudden, with the siloed approach, and I'll say thin, just-in-time inventory strategies, I think we found out that didn't work. And so I do believe that there's a lot of positive impact. As you said, the data that's available out there, where these components used, how many different customers are using, where the new customers are designing, all that data is available now. And all of us that are in this supply chain, we have that data. And the difference is we had that data before, but we're using that data today. We're making good decisions in order to make sure that we smooth that supply chain out. Will we get it 100% right? No, absolutely not. But over time, I think that the peaks and valleys will smooth a little bit because of all the data that we have, and that we're doing something with it.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot agree more to echo those statements. The data tells the stories, but I think also is changing the nature of people to understand the data, how to read it. And I think that's, as much as we have this information, I think we haven't been, not everybody's been so data driven, but it is the UI, because the B2C world is all data, but they're giving you a UI that you see it much easier. Now the B2B world is coming into this to really read those data. And also, of course, manufacturing, as we know in general, is a very old school traditional business. And moving it to a 21st century business that's data driven, has systems, intuitive systems that can bring that, of course, to increase the efficiencies.
Absolutely.
Go through this. So it's exciting out there. Well,
it's a great time to be in the industry.
Yeah, I cannot breathe with the energy here in Electronica. It's been amazing. Well, thank you, Don. It's been great catching up with you. Congrats on the new position and success at Waldom. I can't wait to work with you and talk to you more in the future.
Well, I appreciate it, Rob. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.